Hello, I think I am live. If you are watching, do say hi at the comments box so that I know who you are and then I can say hi back. So, welcome if there is any of you out there that's watching this live stream. What this live stream is about is that I'll do a book review on the Atomic Habits, which is actually on my shelf here. Because, oh, yay, there's Andrew. Hello. This is my favorite habit book of all times, and that's why it's sitting in this shelf. And I'll just take it out to show you. So today what I'll be talking about is this book, Atomic Habits, and why I love it, why I find it different to the other habit books that I have read. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Suki, and I am a certified coach based in New Zealand, helping teams and leaders to become better, as well as helping people to find their purpose and gain self-confidence and self-love. And this channel is all about giving you life tips and how to live more meaningfully. And I've started doing these Saturday live sessions at 11 a.m., where one week I'll be interviewing an amazing guest, and then another week I will be doing a book review. So today we're doing the book review of this one, Atomic Habits by James Clear. So this is the New York Times bestsellers for a number of weeks, as well as he has sold more than 1 million copies for this. And I've read quite a few habit books already. I've read, for example, Charles Dewey's The Power of Habits. I have read Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within, as well as like Habits of a Happy Brain, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But by far, this is my favorite. So I will give you the summary of the book, as well as 2 reasons why that I love it so much. So a bit about the author first, James Clear. How he came to write this book is that during his high school year, he was a baseball player, and he actually got battered on the face by a baseball bat. So he suffered a really bad injury, which detailed his dream of being a professional baseball player. So after that injury, he worked really hard on his habits, whether that is like sleeping habits or training habits or studying habits. So he got into a university, and finally he got into a university college team playing baseball, and he got so much better that he was one of like the top 33 players in the country in the US by the end of it. So his book is all about making tiny changes, small changes in your life to get remarkable results that you want in your life. And I think that the concept of habits is not new because of The Power of Habits. That book is so popular by Charles Dewey. And also the importance of habits is people also know about and how much it features in our life. So I don't think that's the distinguisher for this book. And I also don't think that the concept of small changes make remarkable results. It's another concept that's unheard of, because if you are very well versed with like agile coaching, for example, you would know that there is the principle of Kaizen, which is continuous improvement, which is all about making small changes all the time consistently, so that the compound effect of those changes will make big results in your life. So what I think is different, oh, hi, Michelle, I see you there. Awesome. So what I think is different about this book and why I love it so much is really from a coaching perspective, because all the other habits book that I've read, it has got some psychological elements to why people change and how people stick with change. But this book outlines it really clearly in its 2nd chapter of the book, really. So in coaching, when I coach a client, what is really necessary is to uncover what are the belief systems of that person, what are the values, the worldviews that they have, therefore that's driving the behavior. So a lot of times we would think, okay, I want to stick to this diet, or I want to exercise more. And we just think about ourselves at a behavioral level that we go, okay, we need to do this behavior for a certain amount of time, and then it will become automatic. Yes, that's true to a certain extent, but that does not make the habit last. And the reason is because that is at a surface level, and a lot of the values, the belief systems, the worldviews, the concepts of ourselves, how we perceive ourselves, are driving the behavior. So it's really important to get to know the deeper part of the iceberg of ourselves, really. So James Clear outlines this really clearly, that he terms it as identity, someone's self-perception of themselves. How do they see themselves? Therefore, it changes the behaviors that they want. And then when the behaviors change, then the outcome changes. So an example that he gives, which is a really easy example to get to understand, is that one of a smoker. So you will hear people saying, oh, I want to quit smoking. And if you reflect on that sentence itself, what that actually means is that that person still views themselves as a smoker, but therefore they need to quit smoking. But if they have updated their identity already to one of I am a non-smoker from today onwards, then they wouldn't use the words I need to quit smoking. They would actually say, I don't actually smoke. This is not part of me. So that is the secret of behavioral change, is being able to update that part of our identity that will actually help us to get the behavioral change that we need. Because the sciences show if we believe a certain aspect of our identity, then our behavior will align to that identity. And when we find it difficult to change, is because our identity, our belief systems, and our values have not aligned to that new behavior that we want to. So that is the number one reason why that I love this book so much, is because it breaks it down like this. And then the second reason why that I love this book so much is because of how comprehensive and practical this book is to habit building. It literally breaks down the habit loop into 4 stages of how the habit is formed and performed. And then he gives you tips at each stage of that habit loop. So there are 4 stages of a habit loop. The first stage is that we need a cue, a trigger that will trigger us into a habit. So the habit can be eating breakfast, for example. And the trigger for eating breakfast will be waking up in the morning, getting out of bed. And then the second stage of the habit loop is having a craving, having a desire to perform the habit. So for example, eating breakfast, it will be having a desire to fulfill the stomach. Wow. And when we don't actually have the great craving, when we're not hungry, then we might not actually perform that habit of eating breakfast. And then the third stage of the habit formation is actually doing the habit, that is eating that breakfast itself. And then the fourth stage is being able to have the reward from performing that habit. So James Clear has given tips at each stage of that habit loop. So the first stage, he says, is the cue. So his tip is actually make the cue and the trigger very, very obvious. So a habit that I am building at the moment is reading fiction at nighttime before I go to bed. So the cue or the trigger that I need to make really obvious is that I can have a trigger that is by time or by location. And I've chosen to go with a cue that's by time. So after I have showered, and before I sleep, then I perform this habit of reading fiction. So this is the first tip, which is making it obvious so that you can see it, you know the trigger. Without the trigger, it's actually quite hard. Our mind would not know when do we need to engage into that habit. So, and then the second stage of the habit loop is the craving, having the desire to actually carry out that behavior. So his tip at this stage is to make it very attractive for you to perform that behavior. So for me, of building a habit of reading fiction at nighttime, how do I make it more attractive for myself to do so, is is to do something that's rewarding straight after. It's kind of like having a carrot that's dangling in front of me, knowing that that's a behavior that I like, a want that I want to do. Therefore, I do something that I know that is good for me. So something that he talks about, and this is, I also personally experienced this during my habit building, is that the cost of habit building is all upfront, and the reward of that, of having that habit, is in the long run. It's at the end. So it's almost like an exponential curve that we put a lot of effort into building that habit. We might not actually see the result of enjoying reading that fiction or enjoying doing a workout for quite some time, until we go exponential and go like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I have gone through that plateau and I'm able to feel the rewards that I have for this habit that I know that is really, really good for me. So this tip of making it attractive is being able to bring the rewards of that habit forward, so that you are enticing yourself to perform that habit. That's what that is about. And then the third stage of habit building is actually doing the action itself. So his tip here is that, because this book is all about tiny changes, remarkable results, right? So tiny changes meaning making it super, super easy for yourself to perform that habit. So whether that is going, if you are working on a health habit, for example, of working out, then it's to do the workout only for like 2 minutes. Or for myself, of reading fiction at nighttime, sometimes I'm really, really tired, then I'll only read 1 page. As long as that I do that action and I do it consistently, then the compound effect of that small action is going to build itself. So if you think about a person making a bad decision that's in their life, for example, well, one day we might eat chips, and then the next day we eat chips again, and then the next day we eat chips again. At the start, we might not feel the compound effect or the negative effect of eating chips. But 7 days, a month, a year into eating chips, we'll definitely feel it in our cholesterol. So it's quite good to think about it that way, that every action that you're taking for yourself, it's a vote towards who you want to become. Therefore, making it really easy for yourself to stick with it to get the benefits that you want. And then the final stage of the habit building loop is the reward. It's making it satisfactory, making it satisfying for you to carry out that habit that you are doing. So some people find it really helpful to have a marker to track how they're doing every single day, and then give themselves a gold star, or on the contrary would be putting money into a jar if they have not done the habit. So this is another way to make yourself very accountable to the habit, is by having a reward that's tied to that habit. Like I said, when you have performed a habit, sometimes it takes ages for you to get the benefits that you actually want. Yeah, so those are the main tips that I've got from this book. And I really hope that you remember that first major point, which is about updating the identity that you have for yourself, which will help you to have the alignment of the habits that is aligned to that belief systems, to that values that you have. And if you have trouble knowing what your identity is and knowing what are the beliefs that are holding you back, then I would really recommend you to try out coaching, because this is what coaching is really about, is digging deeper into than the surface to ask you about what is holding you back. And I've got the 10-week purpose program, which is like 10 week of habit building, 10 week of defining who you want to be as a person, gaining the self-confidence and self-love that you need, and gaining that focus and clarity for the vision for your life. So do check out that program that I'm offering. It is a very sustainable way of building habits over a 10-week period with support. And if you want 5 best quotes from this book, then do email me at hello@su.org. Then I can email you the 5 best quotes that I've got from this book, which will save you a bit of reading. Yeah, so this is what I've got to say about this habit book. I really, really love it. And next week, I am having an interview with Lauren Pete, which will be about diversity and inclusion. She's an amazing person that's a co-founder and founder of 2 companies that are focusing on having more diverse and high-performing workforce. And the week after that, I'll review another habit book, which is Habits of a Happy Brain. And that one is a very scientific book about all the chemicals that are happening in our brain as we're building the habits. And I'll take any questions that you have online or comments now if you want any more tips from me about building habits. Hello, any questions? I'll wait a couple more minutes. If you have any, think about like what is maybe let's have a discussion of like what's the habit that you're trying to build at the moment and what you're finding difficult for that habit to be formed. Then I can like tackle that with you to break it down a little bit to see what would be helpful. I'll just post online any questions online. Difficulties with any habits you have got. Yeah, so that we can have a little bit of a discussion before we go offline. Oh, it's coming in. It's a bit of a time delay. So we've got one from Laura Stewart. Hasuki, what about when our habits are broken? Yes. Really, really good questions about our habits are broken. What's the best way of getting back into that habit? When our habits are broken, that's when we have a gap in our system or in our day. So what I found for myself is actually to replace that gap with another habit that is good for me, to find a way to perform that habit. So for example, a habit that I used to have is when I commute, I listen to podcasts. And right now I don't commute anymore. No, nobody really does. So so I don't have that time, that trigger anymore. So I need another trigger that's in my life to listen to podcasts. Therefore, I've changed that trigger to in the morning when I have breakfast, I listen to podcasts. Or I deliberately schedule that into another part of my day and making it really obvious for myself to perform that. Yeah, Laura was saying that she was getting up at 5:30 a.m. for a swim. Yeah, so that habit is not able to be performed anymore because there is no pool that is open. Then I would be, if I were you, I would be doing the same thing at 5:30, still get up at 5:30 in the morning and do a similar activity that will provide similar benefits to me mentally and physically. So it might be doing some stretching, it might be going for a stroll on the road to get some fresh air. At 5:30 is pretty chilly though. Yeah, so thinking about a very similar behavior that provide the same benefits would help in that sense. Cool. And I've got one question from Tim. How does this book compare to Power of Habit that you have read? Yes, Tim, I said in the beginning that Power of Habits, I think that book is really good in terms of the stories that it tells. Charles Dewey, his writing style has lots of stories that he's told about athletes, about other people building habits. And it depends on how you take in information. I think a lot of us take in information in story form and we would remember in story form, which is really good. And at the same time, if we really want like practical step-by-step guide, then I would go for this book. And I think Charles Dewey's book, I don't remember addressing as much about the identity change, the psychological effect. that psychological change that we need to go through before we form a habit. So I think this book is more comprehensive. Therefore, I like this one better, and I will recommend this one. And I will review that Power of a Habit book another time as well, because that is a really, really good book. Cool. And we've got a question about from Lily about what about when a good habit becomes a problem, like staying up all night to finish your book? Yes, I have done so because it's so exciting. Then it's that's a really, really good question. And I think that's about not overdoing a habit. It's about noticing when that habit is not working for us anymore. So that's the same with our belief systems, for example. If we believe a certain thing to be true, maybe if we believe, okay, that that we should all cycle and we should all be outdoors, and this is the best form of exercise. And when we're not able to do that anymore because of the rain or because of like certain circumstances of the environment, then all of a sudden we are stuck because that was our belief. That's something that we really, really wanted and we couldn't get it anymore. So it's really important in that at that time to be flexible with our belief system, to be flexible with our habits. And it requires quite a lot of heightened awareness of, I know, like sometimes I love watching drama, and it gives me a lot of reflection into my life when I watch TV dramas as well. And then I watch till like 1 a.m. And then it's like, okay, observing myself at that 1 a.m. How am I feeling at the moment? Watching that drama. How am I feeling at the moment? Reading that book. And I'm still getting the benefits that I really want. And what about how am I feeling the next day after I have slept and I don't feel well because I slept really late? And then it's making that pain of performing that performing that habit really, really obvious, so that I'm like, okay, I'm not going to repeat this anymore because it's actually not good for me, and then tell back that habit to a level that's helpful for you. Yeah, any other questions about habits or comments? Yeah, let them flow in. If not, then we will end the stream soon so that you can all get on with your Saturday. Any other questions from online? Yeah, this is a really difficult time at the moment of like of our routines being so broken. So it's really easy to have habits that are broken, but in contrast, if you think about it in another way, it provides you with the perfect opportunity to build the habits that you really, really want in your life, because of your pattern is already disrupted. Because a lot of times when we have habits, we don't even know that we have certain habits. And it is only when that pattern has been disrupted that we go, oops, okay, I had that habit before, it was working or it wasn't working. Now it gives me a new opportunity to put in a habit that I really, really want to happen. And this is something from Charles Dewey's book of Power of Habit, is that rather than thinking about getting rid of a habit, it's actually to replace a habit. So our bad habits, it has been formed for a long time. It's actually very impossible to get rid of them. So the best way is to replace that bad habit with a new habit that is working better for you, and then put all the emphasis on that new habit and putting that consistent effort into getting that habit sorted. If there are no more questions, then we'll end the stream very soon. Yeah, another plug. If you want the 5 best quotes from this book, then do email me at hello@su.org. And if you want to build your identity, know who you are as a person, where you're heading, and gain that self-confidence and self-love, then do come and join my program, which is a 10-week program to find that vision for yourself. And it's all the information are on my website at www.su.org. And I really I'm losing my voice a little bit. I'm too excited. I am really hoping that you will join me next week at 11 a.m. again for a live session. I'll be interviewing Lauren Pete. She is absolutely amazing. She talks really fast, but at the same time, she has so much to talk about with her experiences living in Morocco and volunteering there and seeing how the diversity and how women are treated. Like, it's incredible stories that she's got to tell. So I really hope that you can join me next week so that we can find out more about what is her purposeful journey. And do spread the word to other people about this purpose-driven community, because this is really what I want to do, is to help people to raise awareness of themselves and to live a life that is meaningful for them. So I hope to see you next week. I will. Oh, there's one more comment. Oh yeah, good information. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I hope to see you all next week back again here at 11 a.m. New Zealand time. Bye bye. Thank you all. Bye bye.